Hello everyone, GeneralApple here, and welcome back to another House in Fata Morgana video. And on our last playthrough, we reached a point where Jacopo's old gang members, which he considered to be his friends, have betrayed him. And it was really difficult to read because Gretchen, which was essentially #1 in the gang and Jacopo's best friend, resorted to poison him, which was a weak move by its own. But yeah, it was super disheartening to read, and it was heartbreaking. Especially the ending where Jacopo was the one that ended up as the winner, and unfortunately we had to see that friendship go away. After that, of course, we saw Jacopo becoming the evil lord that we knew from the first game, so we kind of got to see how that was going and what happened to make him this way. And we realized that he wasn't truly evil, it's just how life was as a lord of the land at the time. Now, I believe we stopped right after seeing his counsel die. I forgot his name, or Delian, I believe that was his name, I just now remembered. And that was, again, also really, really sad because I love this guy. He was an honest guide to Jacopo and kind of like a father figure, which I liked a lot. So now we reached the point where actually we began to see what's happened in the first game. We met Yukimasa, Pauline, and that is great. We kind of got to see how Jacopo started this whole thing in the first place, and he ordered Yukimasa to find the witch, which by now he still doesn't know that that is Morgana. He thinks this is the old witch that Morgana found in the cabin when she first arrived there. So let's continue right where we were, from where we were. And I guess we're kind of close to an end, at least of this part, which of course we have all the backstage and the other chapters to do as well. Several days later than originally planned, the Far Eastern men finally arrived at the mansion. I had arranged to meet with them on the uppermost level of the observation tower on the church ground. Oh wow, we're back to this place. It feels nostalgic almost. Man, this brings back memories. So many of Michelle and Giselle. I wish we get to see them. About time. The man appeared before me, a burlap sack slung over his shoulder. Oh wow, we're here already. Okay, here we go. I had ordered he use the sack, afraid he might be foolish enough to actually drag the old woman all the way here. There's your witch. He threw the bag to the ground, causing the woman inside to let out a muffled grunt. It didn't sound like an elderly woman voice, though. The stench. Tell me you didn't harm her, dog. I smell blood. You only instructed me not to kill her. Mistakes were made. Limbs were lost. Damn it. I cleaned up all the blood I got on me. No one suspected anything. He's even farther gone than I imagined. I should have been clear in my instructions. Though, I suppose it doesn't matter much. She's not going to live long either way. That you were able to immediately recognize it as the smell of blood says quite a lot, Lord. You have killed before, haven't you? Enough yapping. She is alive, yes? Of course. Fighting back a sigh, I tossed my gaze from the men to the bag. I felt slightly sorry for the woman, but the feeling didn't last long. I had seen too many bloodied, mangled bodies, both dead and alive, to be faced by one more. He crouched down to untie the bag. Oh god, no. And a young girl came tumbling free. It can't be. As soon as I saw her, I knew exactly who the girl was. It had been 4 years, but no length of time could wipe away from my memory those patches on her face. Audra's breathtaking golden eyes. But why? How? What was she doing inside a bag? Why had I ordered her captured? How could I have done that? Morgana. She was pale as death, shaking visibly. Confusion seized me, a cloud of swirling darkness forming before my eyes. The first thought that came to mind was that he had gotten the wrong person. I had only ordered her capture because I thought the witch by the lake was an old woman. If I had known she was a young girl, let alone her, I would have never given the command. But those thoughts led nowhere. I was simply trying to avoid facing reality, trying to place the blame on anyone but myself. I couldn't take back what had already been done. I couldn't change it. There she was, the girl who had once won my affection, lying in a bowl on the cold stone with an arm missing. It didn't matter how we had gotten here, or what I had felt about her. There was no fixing what I had done. She looked up at me, and the source of the muttering above her. Oh god. Her eyes were opened almost frighteningly wide, and they wandered aimlessly, unfocused to the point I wasn't sure she was seeing anything at all. I felt a tinge of madness in her. Is that you? The words spilled from her lips, so soft they barely reached my ear. Hardly a trace of the beautiful singing voice from my memory remained. It was a hoarse and raspy, every sound seemingly laced with an unfathomably deep, pitch-black hatred for all existence. You remember me? Would she even be able to recognize me anymore? How could I ever forget? Morgana, she remembered me? The days we spent together? What kind of person I had been? The boy who had refused to give up putting ointment on her face? All our friends. Those horribly unromantic encounters at the graveyard. Her taking shots at me taking shots at her. Did she really remember? All the time we had shared? How could I ever forget? All the pain and humiliation you put me through. What? How could I ever forget the blood Sabbath you so loved to hold? What was she talking about? Haven't had enough, have you? Leaving scars on every inch of my body wasn't enough for you. You haven't had your fill of my blood. I couldn't even begin to process the words I was hearing. They were a little more than angry, meaningless shouts crashing into me. What the hell was she saying? Did she think I was someone else? Did she think I was him? That I was Barnier? No, Morgana, that wasn't me. I wasn't the man who had caused you so much agony. Look at the girl. You would claim you haven't caused her pain? You're the man who bound me, cut me up, called me a witch, and then tried to kill me. I haven't forgotten you, even for a moment. No, I was the man who rescued you from him, I wanted to shout. But I couldn't gather the strength to force up a single word. Or only gasp of air came from my lips. It was like I had been robbed of my voice. I don't care how much my father preaches forgiveness. That's the one thing you'll never get from me. I despise you with all my soul. I revile you with every fiber of my being. For every scar you gave me, I give you a lifetime of hatred. No, Morgana. When I finally managed to produce a sound, it was barely more audible than a whisper. In a frenzy, I made to reach out for her, when I noticed a pair of narrow eyes glaring at me. I was not aware you knew the witch, Lord. Huh? Know her? I don't just know her. She's Morgana. She's the girl This man, the Lord, he destroyed me, mind and body. No, she's not wrong. That was another man. You have become that man to her. I'm not Barnier. Do you hear yourself, boy? You're the rightful heir to the Barnier name, are you not? That's what you said when you stole the throne from me. This man ruined my life. How will you respond, boy? Will you say it wasn't you? Can you say it wasn't you? How will you convince her? She's clearly not in her right mind. Would she even understand it if you reveal the truth? Can you do that, knowing it won't make it through to her? Will you tell her you're nothing more than a slum rat, a usurper, that you deceived your way into power, that everything you built up over these years was all a lie, that you killed your former friends for nothing, that Odelian died for nothing, that you endured betrayal after betrayal for nothing? Do you have the spine to say it, boy? All the sacrifices you made, all the pain you suffered to make it here, could all come crumbling down the moment you do. What will it be, false lord? Is the girl worth it? Is sharing the truth with this half-dead girl on the brink of madness worth losing everything you worked so hard to accomplish? Make your choice. What's the matter, Lord? Yes, I know her. Or I knew her. Years ago. I see. What do you want to do then, Lord? You look sick. What do I want to do, obviously? Why on earth? This doesn't change anything. We'll lock the witch up and proceed as planned. Did I make this choice? Congratulations, boy. Thus concludes your inheritance of the name Lord Barnier. Oh my god, that is terrible. 4 years earlier? Oh. It wasn't until I lost everything that I truly understood just how blessed I've been. How much my time with them had allayed my wounded spirit, and how hard they had worked to mold me into an ordinary girl. But that was all gone now. I may not have said as much, but I liked it there. I was quite fond of the tranquility. I didn't want to lose it. I wanted to be happy as much as anyone else. I'd long lost track of how far I'd walked. My legs were stiff and my knees didn't want to bend anymore. It took all my efforts to remain upright, and I was certain I would never get back up if I did fall down. I still couldn't wrap my mind around what had happened. It was all so sudden, all so horribly senseless. It was so mind-bogglingly horrendous. Part of me refused to believe it was anything more than a bad dream. And that was what kept me walking. Because if I did accept it as reality, I would lose what remained of my will to live. It was supposed to be a party. The girls got together to celebrate my birthday, making food and treats that, while hardly extravagant, were still a significant improvement over what we usually had. Everyone was laughing. Part of me was irritated by the whole affair, as I had never been comfortable in such a lively environment. They were celebrating me, my birthday. I should have been overjoyed. Maybe this was my punishment for being so unappreciated. As soon as I stepped out, bandits raided a brothel. Had I stayed there but a few minutes longer, things likely would have turned out quite differently. Whether for better or worse, I couldn't begin to guess, but at the very least, I probably wouldn't be here alone. I could have gone with them to the next life. During the raid, a man grabbed me, and I lost consciousness almost immediately after. When I awoke, I was in a foul-smelling carriage. People were packed into the carriage like livestock. There were a dozen of them, every inch of usable space filled with a body. Looking out across the cramped space, I knew instinctively I was on my way to becoming a slave. Once, I had been sold off as a saint, a highly valuable commodity. But this time around I was cheap, expendable labor. I was filled with an overwhelming emptiness as the realization struck. Something resembling sorrow wavered about in the void as well. But it wasn't the sadness for my own predicament. It broke my heart knowing I would never see them again. That everyone I had to thank for all those warm, peaceful days had either been killed or sold off. In time, the sadness swelled to form tears in my eyes. My whole life I had managed to endure without crying, and the first time I did, I shed tears for someone else. The man sitting next to me asked, "Why are you crying?" To which I answered, "I'm sad because I didn't get the chance to show my gratitude to people very dear to me." But if that had been the end of our conversation, I wouldn't be here. Hobbling down this endless road alone, I wouldn't be, covered in so much blood. Sometime after I had responded, the men suddenly stood up and murdered the guards and slave traders. At first, the other slaves thought they were saved, and for a moment, I believed so too. He was a very curious-looking man. His eyes smaller and narrower than ours, his nose a different shape. I had never seen anyone who looked like him before. All I knew was that he wasn't from around here. The man, wielding a sword stolen from a guard, searched through the slave trader's clothes for the keys to our shackles, which he gave to me and made me free his hands, before proceeding to kill the slaves. I stood aghast as the massacre unfolded before me. Blood pooled at my feet. Severed limbs were strewn about the carriage. Bodies piled up haphazardly, many having only had enough time for their eyes to go wide in shock before being cut down. Men, women, children, everyone equals at the end of his blade. The strange-looking man laughed as he slaughtered the slave. He laughed and laughed like he was having the time of his life. And when he was done, he stepped out of the carriage and wandered off, leaving me alone, the sole survivor. Man, Yuki must say something, isn't he? I had witnessed so much death in so short a time. Cruel, meaningless violence, its victim powerless to resist. And here I stood among the bodies, left alive. For some inexplicable reason, left alive. The screams, the despair, the pleas, the death, the laughter, all reverberating inside my head. Oh Father who art in heaven, please give me your mercy. I cannot take it anymore. I pray, free me from this pain. My spirit was at its breaking point. I was certain that I too would sink into the bottomless abyss if I kept all this emotion inside me much longer. I walked and walked and walked and walked, no food, no water, my exhaustion at its peak, my mind in a complete haze. When, off in the distance, I caught sight of a lake. So thirsty. Water. I began hobbling in the general direction of the lake, not caring that it took me off the main road. Bandits could have assailed me, wild animals made me their prey. None of that mattered to me anymore. At least then, I wouldn't have to walk anymore. But for better or worse, I made it to the lake unmolested. The water was clear as crystal, and seemed to sparkle like one as well. As soon as it was within reach, I dropped to my knees and drank my thirst, seemingly insatiable. The blood covering me had dried several days earlier, but its bitter stench lingered. So after a brief glance about my surrounding, I washed myself. The chill of the midwinter lake water and occasional gust of wind pierced me to my very bones. No one in their right mind would bathe in this weather. But common sense and the chattering of my teeth didn't stop me. I wanted only to be clean again, and the frigid water felt like it would strip everything away, leaving my body and spirit new and unsullied. Once I was satisfied, I came to the belated realization that a small cottage standed on the lakeside. Wow, there's smoke coming from the chimney. Maybe there's someone inside. It could be someone bad though. Maybe it would be safer to stay away. But who knows when I might find someone else. Excuse me, is anyone there? Hello? The door's unlocked. It was so warm inside. The heat from the fire seeped into my chilled flesh, spreading slowly. I almost burst into tears again. Sitting before the fireplace was an old woman. A cauldron hung above the flames, bubbling with curious colored liquid. Ma'am? The woman merely sat there, her head drooped. Slowly I approached her, half certain of what I would find, and placed my hand on her shoulder. She was dead, and I hardly so much as batted an eye at the sight of yet another corpse. In fact, she looked like she had passed quite peacefully by comparison. How blessed she was. There was no sign bandits had been rooting through the cottage. Presumably, she had fallen asleep and passed away naturally while in the middle of concocting something. Looking around the room, I found myself surrounded by countless items I couldn't begin to identify. Plants of all colors hanging from the ceiling to dry. Berries crushed and stored in small glass bottles. Were I to guess, the old woman made her living off herbal medicines. Having gotten a good look around the room, I thought that perhaps I had been guided here. And if my father had led me to this place, he would not frown upon me for doing what was necessary to make use of it. Wow. So I dragged the old woman corpse from the cottage and pushed it into the lake. If I didn't take up residence in the cottage, someone else eventually would. Or it would be just left to deteriorate. And I would rather take the opportunity bestowed upon me to have a place to rest my weary soul. As the woman's body sank into the clear lake, a realization struck me. I hadn't crossed myself. A few days after I moved into the cottage, a man came to the door. Mel? Oh, no, it's a different one. Apparently he had been a customer of the woman, a witch by trade, and he was looking for more medicine. When I spoke to him through the door, he gave a short gasp and said, "Who are you? Where's the witch?" I'm her granddaughter. She's not presently home. Ah, never knew the old hag had kids. So when she's gonna be back? Not for some time. Well, damn. You know much about herbs, girl? What? As long as I can get my medicine, I don't really care who supplies it. You, her, doesn't matter, I'll still pay. One moment, please. My knowledge of herbology was essentially non-existent, but if there was a possibility I could make a living off it, there was no reason for me not to try. I asked the man to give me as much information about the herbs he had been receiving, color, texture, smell, anything, and rummaged about until I found something that fit the description. The entire exchange occurred through the barely cracked door. The man paid me as promised, but I quickly realized that money wasn't much use to me, as I had no intention returning to the city. So I told him that, in the future, I would trade for supplies, which he happily agreed to. A few days later, another man called upon the cottage, but unlike the first man, he sounded crude and uncivilized. I didn't want to cut off a potential source of supplies though, so I handed him the medicine he requested. But when I did, he let out a low snicker and said, "What'd you say I look after you, girlie?" He then shoved his hand in through the crack in the door and grabbed my wrist. You ain't fooling me. The hag's dead, and it's just you, ain't it? Little girl like you needs someone to look after her. Make sure no bad men threaten ya. Every word that came from his mouth oozed with sleaze. I knew that what would happen if he got the door open. Let go! Whoa! I yanked my arm back with all my strength, slammed the door shut, and set the bar. But even that wasn't enough to quell my uneasiness, so I put a chair against it as well. The man pounded on the door, each slam of his fist causing the whole room to vibrate. Overreact much, huh, girlie? Come on, open up. I still ain't paid ya yet. Brought something real nice too. Open up, I want you to have it. I don't need your payment. I'm never doing business with you again, so please get off my property. Wanna say that again? You got a lot of nerve, you little bitch. Open the damn door, you don't wanna know what will happen if you don't. You got more for sale than just the bags of leaves, don't you? Open the fucking door. Just stay quiet, Morgana. The best way to handle people like him is to just not respond. Good for nothing, you. One day you'll learn a lesson. This world ate a little girlie like you right up. After giving the door one final parting kick, the men stormed off, loudly grumbling about how stupid and ungrateful I was all the while. I didn't deserve a word of his cursing, but at the same time, I couldn't bring myself to be upset about it. He was right. The world would not be kind to a young girl living on her own, not so long as men as him roamed free. I paced before the private place, my mind racing. I can't be sure I'm safe anywhere, not even here, but going back to the city isn't an option. Not while the Lord lives to keep throwing his blood sabbath. Everyone who might have protected me is gone. I have to make it on my own now. I'll have to be very careful about opening the door. I could be attacked again or worse. I mean, most men would probably run as soon as they saw my face. But most doesn't mean all. There are some out there who will go after anyone. I can't let my guard down while I'm doing business, not even for a second. Men or women, everyone is a potential threat. I'll make it on my own. I don't need anyone else. Me and only me. Being out here has really shown me just how sheltered I was at the brothel. How kind everyone was, how peaceful my life was. I just want to go back. No, stop it, Morgana. You're stronger than that. I put enough wood on the fire for it to last the whole night, then curled up into a bowl and slept beside it. For the first time in my life, solitude frightened me. Oh my god. That was the first day at the cottage. Morgana. Huh? What, were you planning to sleep all day? Come on, you're not Jern. What? Jacopo! About time. Good morning. What little of it remains, anyway. What's with that look? Still waking up? What are you doing here? Excuse me? Why would I not be here? That doesn't answer my question. How did you even... A little bird told me where to find you. So you survived? Do I look dead to you? No, but still I thought you were killed during the raid. I may not be as good with a sword as someone, but you know I'm no pushover. I wasn't going to let a bunch of bandits get the best of me. What? Were you worried? Seriously, and here I thought all you knew how to do. It was damn me to the fires of hell. Was I worried? Of course I was, you oblivious dolt. I never actually meant it when I said you should be cast into hell. Of course I want to see you alive. Of course it would hurt me to lose you. I'm sorry. That was callous of me. I was afraid I would never see you again. I thought I had lost everything, everyone. I was scared to death. Whoa, no need to cry. You're tougher than that. I'm not crying. If you say so. And what do you mean I'm tougher than that? What do you think I am, made of stone? First you try to pretend I'm a normal girl, and now you act like I'm some kind of a heartless creature. Make up your mind already. I'm sorry, really. You're a perfectly ordinary girl, Morgana. Can you say that looking at my face? I'm looking at it right now. Even though I'm a mean-spirited, bitter little girl. Even though you're a mean-spirited, bitter little girl. Though, it's nice you acknowledge it. Oh, burn in hell. Huh. Say, I want to ask you something, and I want you to not call me weak for it this time. Let's hear it. Will you stay with me? I don't want to be alone anymore. It terrifies me. Yeah, absolutely. I'll stay right here, forever. You know, you won't be able to accomplish your dreams out here, right? And you're fine with that? You bet. You told me to stay, and stay I will. We'll live right on the lake, and there's some mountains nearby. All things considered, it's not a bad location. We can plant some crops, go fishing in the lake, sprawled out on grass under the starry night. Sounds like a pretty good life to me. And maybe sometimes you could sing a little song, and I'll sit there, listening quietly. Or if you want some accompaniment, I can procure some instruments. That sounds as nice to you as it does to me. Nothing? Seriously. What else could you want? How about... No. That's more than enough. Yes, if I could have a life like that, it will have made every misfortune in my life worth suffering. Oh. Just a dream. It's just a dream. He's not here. It was a dream. What else could it have been? He's dead, just like everyone else. They all died in the raid. And even if he was alive, he wouldn't come looking for me. What a childish dream. Fight it, Morgana. You cannot cry over a simple dream. You are the daughter of God. Your tears are only to be shed for others, not yourself. Whoa. She's crying. This is heartbreaking. I pounded my fists against the floor again and again and again, sobbing like a petulant child. I had never cried like this before. Not as I witnessed men, women, and children being slaughtered, not when I was taken from my home, not when I was chained up and tortured by the Lord. It wasn't until I realized just how much I needed that warmth, and that I would never have it again, that my spirit hit rock bottom. Finding and then losing happiness hurt worse than anything else. I wish I'd never known happiness. I wish no one had ever shown me kindness. Not if it's mean I have to go through this. I wish I'd never known what it was like to be normal. I could have just stayed the daughter of God my whole life. Then I wouldn't be feeling like this. Oh God. I never knew crying like that was so exhausting, and I never want to experience it again. I want to go back to who I used to be, a saint. If I didn't know happiness, I wouldn't have to feel like this. I just have to forget it all. That part of my life, it never happened. No peace, no rest, only trials from my father. That is all I have ever known. Huh. It's not hard. Just don't think about those years. Then you won't have to cry like this ever again. It's for the best. It's my only choice. See, I was always right. I never was and never will be normal. The only ones who will offer me salvation are God or one of his angels. And so I did precisely that. I led a solitary life. I did all my business hidden behind the cottage door, and I sent away anyone who wasn't here for medicine. Once, a mounted man in armor rode up to the cottage. He looked like a knight, but I had no interest in getting involved with anyone who went around carrying weapons. I was responsible for my own safety, so I had to be careful about who I opened my door to. I had to be extra careful about who I dealt with, but I didn't feel sad or lonely about it. By making that my normal, there was nothing to lament, which meant all memories served no purpose but to cause me pain. So I endeavored to push them far, far away into the depths of my mind. I couldn't simply discard my memories of what the Lord had done to me, of course, or all the wonderful people I had met at the brothel. But as time trekked on, they faded into almost nothing. I couldn't describe what any one person's voice sounded like, how they acted around me, what kind of person they were. The things we did together, what they looked like, what their names was, anything of importance. I knew good and well it was callous to forget about all the people who had shown me so much kindness and warmth. But I would never see them again, and thinking about them only brought me pain, so there was no point in remembering. It was all I could do to make it by. Nearly 4 years had passed since I had assumed the role of the lakeside witch. My 16th birthday was approaching, but my age was perhaps the only thing I had in common with the ordinary teenage girl. Although, if I had grown up like any other girl, having spent my childhood as a saint before being held captive by the Lord and made to witness countless people's death, that would probably mean there was something deeply wrong with me. By that point, a terrible cynicism had taken root in my heart. I built high walls around myself, keeping my contact with the outside world as terse and pragmatic as possible. With each passing day, my voice grew more monotonous, my interactions following a well-rehearsed script. My customers didn't make any attempt to force their way into my shell either. I'd begun to suspect they might think me not a witch by trade, but that I actually formed a pact with the devil and worked his dark magic. No one said as much, but I could sense what seemed to be fear in their voices when they came to me. On the other hand, I never had anyone else try to force themselves into the cottage like the man 4 years earlier, so I would say I had a rather peaceful life. If you consider a life in which no one wanted anything to do with you peaceful, that's it. I had also come to learn a fair bit about herbology. I could now make my own medicines, rather than just making do with what was already here when I moved in. Although, a fair bit still amounted to almost nothing when compared to what my predecessor was capable of. Nonetheless, I had a relatively solid grasp on what herbs to use to treat different symptoms. Enough to formally assume the name of the Lakeside Witch, at least. And so, time flowed on, uneventful and quiet, until one day when a young man showed up at my door. Mail time! Excuse me, is anyone home? I knew right away that he was a new customer. No one who had traded with me before bothered with such pleasantries anymore. They wanted the process to be as quick and frictionless. And I preferred it that way as well. Who's there? When I responded from behind the door, he seemed to be taken aback. After several moments with no answer, I tensed up slightly and repeated the question. My sister has fallen very ill and she desperately needs medicine. He has a very pretty voice. I was told that the person who lives here is a skilled herbalist. Could I please get something to treat her? What are her symptoms? She's got an extremely high fever that won't come down. She has no appetite, she's only drinking water, and she can't get out of bed. Everyone always seems to be looking for medicine for the self. I haven't had a customer like him in some time now. We're going to want to lower her fever first. After that, get her on a nutritious diet. I'm going to give you 2 medications. Give her the first while the fever is high, and the second after it's calmed down. Thank you very much. When was the last time someone thanked me? Here your medicine. It's powdered, so mix it with some water and have your sister drink it. Are you not going to open the door any wider? Is that necessary? No, sorry. Just a second. Let me get you your money. I take supplies for my services, not money. Oh, I didn't realize. I'm so sorry. This is all I have on me today. Would you maybe be willing to accept this as a payment today? Very well. Is that a gold coin? Those herbs aren't worth nearly this much. Just who is this man? And what on earth is he doing here, at a witch's cottage? In any other situation, I wouldn't have been tempted to look. What if he saw me? He would think me disgusting, ridicule me like everyone else. It didn't hurt knowing what people thought of me, but it was hardly pleasant hearing it vocalized either. And what if he decided to do something in that moment I dropped my guard? He could force the door open, have his way with me. He doesn't seem like that kind of man, though. Trust was about the farthest thing from my mind when interacting with people these days. I always remained on high alert, keeping a safe distance from everyone, no matter how good they appeared on the surface. But for some reason, I felt strangely comfortable in this young man's presence. At the time, I couldn't have explained why. But in retrospect, I imagine it was largely a result of his upbringing. He spoke in a clear, well-enunciated voice. He had a polite, friendly air about him, which I could feel even through the door. It wasn't the sort of well-mannered you could fake with a bit of practice, nor the sort you encountered out in the middle of nowhere. Curiosity took hold of me. I had to know what he looked like. I wasn't going to throw the door open, of course, and I had no intention of inviting him in either. I just wanted to get a little peek at him through the crack in the door. So I opened it so slightly wilder than usual when I reached out to take his payment. Oh, no, he saw me. Wow, I didn't think you would be so young. I guess you were a little older. What? Thank you for doing business with me, and I'm sorry for not coming properly prepared. If I need any more, I'll be sure to bring supplies next time. Alright. Again, I really appreciate it. Have a nice day. You too. He saw my face, and he wasn't disgusted. He actually smiled. I was so caught off guard, I thought for a second that maybe my face had healed. So I ran over to the water basin, a glimmer of hope in my heart, gazed in at my reflection. But the face looking back at me was the same as always, a grotesque, unsightly, patchy mess. Part of me was disappointed, but more than anything, I was flabbergasted by what had just happened. How could he smile at the sight of this face? For a split second, my mind slipped back in time 4 years. The man who had applied ointment to my face, he had never seemed disturbed by my appearance either. Not long afterwards, the young man called upon my cottage again. He said that the medicine had briefly relieved his sister's symptoms, but it had failed to actually cure what ailed her. Herbal medicine required patience and persistence before its effect manifested, I informed him, to which he responded with a sad smile. He was a handsome young man, not far from what I imagined from his voice, and the smile suited him quite well. There was a distinct elegance emanating from him. Ragged clothing aside, he was about how I envisioned the fairy tale prince might look, though I knew quite well those only existed in fiction. Real nobles were terribly miserable, reprehensible people. After a few visits, we started having a little conversation outside our business transaction. He told me his name, Mel, as well as his sister, Nellie, and I told him mine. Mel was 17, only a year older than me. Then one day, he invited me outside for a walk. It's not healthy to stay holed up inside all the time. You've got this beautiful lake right here. What do you say we take a little walk around the shoreline? I was going to turn him down, but my mouth seemed to disagree with my mind, and the next thing I knew, I was taking a walk with someone for the first time in years. Although with might be something of a stretch, I kept a safe distance from him as we walked. Mel seemed disappointed with my unwillingness to get any closer, but I couldn't bring myself to trust him that much yet. Nonetheless, it was a momentous enough occasion that I felt justified describing it as such. I'm sure I made him uncomfortable on numerous occasions during our walks. To say I acted disagreeably would be an understatement. Anytime he closed the gap between us, I stepped a little further away. Every response I gave was curt, and I repeatedly shot him down whenever he started getting wistful or sentimental. The Morgana of 4 years prior might have been a little softer with him, a little more human. Maybe she would have given him a little smile or a pout instead. But the girl was long gone. That girl. I despised the humanity that once started taking root in me, and I endeavored to be something different again. In one instance, he heard a robin chirping and said, "If I had wings like a bird, maybe I could be free too." To which I responded, "There is not a single creature living in this world that is free." What? Oh, we got to see Mel again. Yay. I missed him. Birds regularly get shot down by hunters or preyed on by larger birds. The idea that they are free is nothing more than men's short-sighted delusion. Sorry, I guess? Nah, I should be apologizing. I wasn't trying to attack you. I simply lack the ability to properly empathize with others. I do not understand people. So please, if I say anything that upsets you or makes you uncomfortable, don't assume that was my intention. Sure. Maybe you're hiding it, or maybe you just don't know it yet, but I think you got more empathy than you're letting on. Surely you can say nothing affects you at all. You are human. At one point, that was true. Enough it was perhaps somewhat difficult for others to see. I felt great beauty in the world when I knelt before the gravestones, but such sentiments have long since been lost to me. So you don't have to be so closed off. I might not be able to do much for you, but I do want to get to know you better. I want to understand you. So if you ever feel like talking about yourself, just know that you've got an eager pair of ears here. Okay? If there were ever someone who could understand me, if there were ever someone who could understand what I am now, who could empathize with me, who had been through trials as great as mine, they would not be human. What do you mean? That you would need to be far removed from any idea of humanity to have a chance at understanding me. Regardless, I do appreciate your kind words. Sure. So, out of curiosity, do you have anyone really important to you in your life? Not at the moment. Does that mean you used to? I'd love to hear about them if you don't mind. They're all long dead. 4 years ago, something unpleasant occurred, and as a result of that, I was forced to part ways with the people who taught me that humans have the capability for kindness. I'm sorry. Well then, if your sister's condition worsened again, come see me. Farewell. Hey, maybe we could walk a little slower next time, so we have more time to talk. I want to get to know you better. I'll consider it. Alright. So long. Bye. See you soon. I was conscious of how cold and distant I was being towards him, but I had no interest in changing anything. Not that I even knew how to talk to anymore. I had never known particularly well how to choose the right words, the proper way to act in various circumstances. But what little knowledge I had possessed, I'd long since lost. I assumed, after the thing I had said to him, Mel would never ask me on another walk again. But I was wrong. He did the very next time he came for medicine, and every time after that as well. Hey, so I was thinking, I bet you'd make a really good singer if you wanted. Singer? Yes. You have this really pretty voice. I think it'd be nice if you tried using it to sing. I'm sorry, it's not my place to tell you what to do. Huh? You hardly talk. Why would I think you'd want to sing? I'm glad we're on the same page. Never again. Sorry about that, really. Anyway, I wonder who first came up with the idea to sing. You can brighten someone's day or sour their mood with just the sound of your voice. Kinda amazing, don't you think? It's almost like magic. Oh, and there are battle songs too, for getting soldiers fired up for combat. Battle. Now there's a word I never expected to hear from you. I mean, I am a guy. I admire anyone who has the strength to go to battle. I could never, ever do it myself though. The sight of blood makes me sick, and I barely know which end of sword you're supposed to grab. You're a noble, aren't you? What need you have for knowing how to use a sword? That's what I used to think too. But now I think I should have gotten training. I may not have been a soldier, but I need to be strong. I could have avoided so much if I was. And Nelly wouldn't have to live in a rundown shack in the middle of nowhere. As I recall, he said once that he was forced from his house after a dispute over who the rightful heir was. High society sounds like endless fun. I'm sorry. I'm sure you don't care about any of this. No, you're fine. I'm the one who asked. Thanks. I want you to know, I really do appreciate it. It's nice to just be able to talk about this stuff to someone. You're naturally sociable. I'm sure you would find plenty of other people willing to listen. I don't get into town much, not even to run errands, so I'm still kind of an outsider. You're my only friend right now. I hope that wasn't too presumptuous of me. Call me whatever you like. Oh, thank goodness. We should do this more often, really. Talk more, get to know each other better, become better friends. To what end? No end, just, having friends is better than being alone. That's all. I see. I'll be heading back in now. See you, again. Yeah, see you soon, Morgana. Little by little, his words were getting closer to reaching the old me. Not enough to provoke an actual response, of course. But that wasn't his fault. I had locked myself up too deeply. I no longer knew how to express emotions, but most especially those that resulted from human warmth. However, I had regained enough of something to feel sort of nostalgia in my interaction with Mel. And I thought perhaps with enough time, I could go back to who I had been 4 years prior. But shortly thereafter, he threw all that into the wind with a single utterance. I'll take anything at this point to make her better. I'll even take a miracle if I can. Oh. He appeared exhausted that day, much more than usual. His sister's condition had begun to worsen again. That one muttered word set off a spark in my mind. It sent me back in time, well beyond when I was taught humanity 4 years ago, to my very origin. I was the daughter of God. My blood had healing properties, and the instant I remembered that, there was only one course of action I could take. Without a moment's hesitation, I informed him that miracles did exist, that I had been born a saint, and that my blood had miraculous powers. That after leaving the village of my birth, my power had only ever been misused. First by the Lord for his sick banquets, then by me for letting it lay idle so long. Now was the time for me to correct that. He was a kind-hearted young man who loved his sister, who deserved this blessing more than them. Who deserved? I told him everything. At first, he was surprised, but never once did he accuse me of lying. He listened carefully and intently, taking in every word. And when I was finished, he said he believed me. He said he wouldn't trust his sister's care to me. Mel's sister slept upon a simple bed. Oh, Nelly. She was a sweet little girl who looked like she would have been quite spirited if not for her ailment. Both she and her brother had beautiful flaxen hair. They looked as if they had been yanked from a painting. Seeing them there, I wanted to do everything I could to help them, to ensure their happiness. And I knew I had the ability to do so. No longer would I be the one receiving others' charity. I could be the one giving it again. And so, I made a new cut on my mostly healed arm. For the briefest of moments, a flash of him applying ointment appeared in my mind, but I quickly cast it off. The flaxen-haired girl showed signs of recovering as a result of my miracle. The boy came to my cottage overjoyed to thank me. I was extremely proud of myself. I felt like, for once, I'd actually saved someone's life. I had finally been able to use my gift to help someone truly good. After the miracle, though, he stopped referring to me as his friend. Understandably so. No one could think of themselves as equal with someone who performed a miracle. Awe, fear, reverence, they were all feelings that came from the same place. An inability to think me of as human, who experienced the world same as the way they did. He saw me as abnormal. I had always been fine with that. It was how it was supposed to be. Being different was what I always wanted. And in some way, it was what had kept me going. So seeing him put more and more distance between us shouldn't have bothered me in the slightest. But I continued to offer his sister my blood no matter how distant he grew. Eventually, he stopped inviting me on walks. But that didn't matter. I would serve my duty and perform miracles regardless. He would simply knock on my cottage door and say, my sister fallen ill again. Would you come perform another miracle? I could hear the apprehension in his voice. No longer did he show me his gentle smile. No longer did we listen to the birds singing together. No longer was the one being cold and distant. And no longer did he say, see you again, when we parted ways. Back in my village, when everyone feared and revered me as a saint, it filled me with a childish sense of superiority, but there was no superiority now. Only a prickling in the softened shell of my heart. I was no longer the child I had once been. I had changed. I had learned what warmth felt like. My memories of the time were vague and ethereal, but the feeling they had created lived on, deep within me. For a time, I had felt a warm familiarity around Mel, which only made me yearn for him to treat me that way again. I wanted to be able to open up to someone once more, though I never said as much out loud. Gloomy day after gloomy day had passed, and then I received a news visitor. Damn, that's Yukimasa. I asked them their business from behind the door, but they hesitated for moments before responding. My instinct told me whoever it wasn't the noble boy, so I waited, perplexed and slightly on edge for them to say something. And then when they finally did, I was left aghast at what I heard. Are you the witch with the miracle blood? Oh, she recognized him? Why did he sound like the man who had slaughtered the slaves in the carriage, laughing all the while? What was he doing at my cottage? I thought he had wandered off somewhere, never to be seen again. I thought he was out of my life for good. Why did he call me a witch? And how did he know my blood had powers? Had Mel told him? Or maybe his talkative little sister had gone running around blabbing about it. I should have been clearer with them, made absolutely certain they knew to keep their mouths shut. Please leave. It took all my strength to get those 2 words out of my voice without my voice shaking. I could hear the screams for 4 years ago, echoing in my mind. I could see the limbs flying, the blood pooling at my feet. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it pulsing in my ears. Please stay away from my home. After all that time I spent forgetting about everything, closing myself off, finally finding peace, why did this monster who reminded me of only senseless violence and death have come back into my world? I never wanted to go through anything like that again. I am in need of your blood. Could you not spare a little? I have nothing to spare for a man like you. My blood is only for the sick and needy, so please go away. Stay away from me, I'm begging you. Get away from this place. You're a murderer. I want nothing to do with you. So please, just go away. As you say. Is he gone? Oh thank heavens. My eyes feel like they're burning. No, Morgana, you have to be strong. You cannot let this get to you. Be strong. You have nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. No, stop. Fight it back. Oh god. She's regressing. I had sworn to never cry again, but the moment fear released its grip on me, everything that I had built up came pouring out in a hot stream. Tears soaked my face. I wiped, and still my hands came back wet. With each passing second, I felt myself reverting into an ordinary, helpless little girl. No, that's what I'd always been. My whole life, I had just been putting on airs, when in reality, I wasn't even strong enough to withstand a little fright. Even with the horrid man gone, I couldn't rest easy. I couldn't be sure if he was gone for good. Maybe he was just waiting for a more opportune moment to target me again. The following day, I took a brief walk with the noble boy, but I couldn't bring myself to talk to him about what had happened. With how much distance he was keeping between us, I doubted he would be willing to do anything to help. For 3 days and 3 nights, I shook in terror, thinking, considering, speculating, wondering, hardly getting a wink of sleep. I was too anxious to sit still, so I paced in circles around the chair by the fireplace. It's too soon to be sure I'm safe. Can't go outside unless I'm absolutely must. Not even just to get water from the lake. He could be waiting in the shadows to take my life. I'm not safe here anymore. I shouldn't have said anything about my powers. They've only ever brought me trouble. I should probably find somewhere else to live. But where? How far could I even get on my own? He could be out there waiting for me to open the door. I would need help. Don't be a fool. No one's going to help me. The boy barely even wants to talk to me anymore. All I wanted was a quiet life. Is it him? Did he return? Calm yourself. He knocks harder than that. It's not him. Who's there? It's me. Oh god, we know what's about to happen. His sister needs more of my blood. I'm not here about Nelly today. I'm sorry for being so distant lately. What? I want to talk things over. He's finally reconsidered. If he can treat me like a friend again, then maybe I could ask him. I want to talk to you too. Oh no. I opened the door without a second thought. I let my guard drop, because in my mind the flaxen-haired boy briefly took the place of the slave man from the brothel. The man who had saved me from terrible lord offered me his hand, guided me into the light, and here it was again, to set me free, to take me away from this place, take me somewhere new. He had pulled me out of the darkest depths of despair, and here it was again, ready to offer me his hand. A glimmer of hope to cast away the shadow, so I reached out to take it, and my arm went toppling to the ground, my hope following not too far behind. What? My arm. Man, damn, I hate Yukimasa all over again, I swear to God. Man. Should last you long enough. I remember that. What do you mean take it? What do you mean my arm? Why are you taking it? Why? How could you betray me like that? Oh my god. Nothing personal. I just needed your blood. Oh god, I hate him. Again. Without it, she'll lose her church. She needs the money. I need some way of getting enough money to keep her church running. So the Lord made me an offer. The Lord? Why him again? If I brought him the witch with the miracle blood, he would finance a whole new church for her. So don't take it personally. You get to be the sacrifice, to keep her church from collapsing, to keep her world from collapsing. So don't take it personally, witch. Cheers, a saint's blood and good fortune to all. You're a damn witch wearing a saint's skin. Oh god. No, I'm not a witch. Yes, man. What the hell is that? After cutting off my left arm, strange-looking man stuffed me into a sack and tied me up and threw me over his shoulder and carried me away somewhere. And while he was walking, he muttered at me over his shoulder, explaining where we were going. Apparently, a new church run by someone called the Innocence, and she was going to give my blood to patrons of the church, saying it was some kind of miracle elixir. But what was this nameless nun doing calling herself Innocence where I was the real saint? And why did I have to be the witch sacrificed for her sake? It didn't make any sense, and most of all, why was the Lord involved? Why did that vicious, cruel, horrible, miserable man have to come back into my life? Why couldn't he just leave me alone? Was that really so hard? Why? He already had his way with me. He had his terrible banquets, his blood Sabbath already. What did he need with more of my blood? Hadn't he already had enough? Did he find out it had real powers and so he decided to come back for more? What that is? He could have just called me the Saintess instead of her, and he didn't have to make me into a witch. Or it's because of my face, isn't it? He wanted a pretty face to put on his brand new church, not ugly scarred face like mine. But that's all she is, just pretty. I can perform miracles, but I'm here with my arm cut off and stuffed in a bag. Even slaves are treated better than this. All I wanted was a quiet life, but I have this power, so I just wanted to use it to help, that's all. Oh, Father, your trials are too great. I cannot bear it any. I wasn't born to spend my whole life suffering. Oh, God. About time. There's your witch. Tell me you didn't harm her, dog. I smell blood. You only instructed me not to kill her. Mistakes were made. Limbs were lost. I cleaned up all the blood I got on me. No one suspected anything. That you were able to immediately recognize it as the smell of blood says quite a bit, Lord. You have killed before, haven't you? Enough yapping. She is alive, yes? Of course. Oh, his vision is blurred. She's hazed. No tears. No, that's a good girl. It simply wouldn't be the same if you cried and blubbered like a lowly slave or a whore. Dignified and saintly. That's what I needed you to be. Ah. Welcome, witch. You'll be giving your blood to all my people now, not only me. Is that you? Oh, do you remember me? What an honor. A truly splendid honor. How could I ever forget? How could I ever forget? All the pain and humiliation you put me through. How could I ever forget the blood Sabbath you so love to hold? Haven't you had enough, have you? Leaving scars on every inch of my body wasn't enough for you? You haven't had your fill of my blood? I'm thrilled to know the Grain Saint remembers the lavish party they threw for her. I take it they left quite an impression then. You're the man who bound me, cut me up, called me a witch, and then tried to kill me. I haven't forgotten you even for a moment. That's splendid to hear. I'm sure you tried so very hard to cast my memory aside, but you never could you? And you know what that means? That the scars I left all over you run deeper than anything else you've experienced. Look at that face, so twisted and hideous. I bet you loathe me. That you'll never be able to forgive me. I don't care how much my father preaches forgiveness, that's the one thing you'll never get from me. I despise you with all my soul. I revile you with every fiber of my being. For every scar you gave me, I give you a lifetime of hatred. You will never have my forgiveness. This man, the Lord, he destroyed me, mind and body. This man ruined my life. I see. So I'm the one who ruined your life. But why should that concern me? Your words are as insignificant as the chirps of a dying robin. Scream and shout until your throat goes sore. It doesn't change anything. We'll lock up the witch and proceed as planned. She's mixing up Jacopo with the old Lord. Oh, Father, God of heavens and earth, my life has become nothing, shattered and empty. Good day, Lord Barnier. Not hungry. I need some time to rest, so don't bother me. Yes, sir. And make sure everyone knows they are to stay away from my room. By your command, my lord. So we're back to Jacopo perspective. Why was she the lakeside witch? How could this happen? There must be something I can do. Some way to fix this. No, don't fool yourself, you damn buffoon. There's no fixing that. Her arm's been cut off. Her mind broken. If only that Far Eastern dog hadn't been such a damn idiot, then she might actually be in proper shape. Fucking fuck. I'm the one who gave the order. The only one to blame for this is me. I can spend all goddamn day regretting it, but there's no taking back what's already been done. God damn it, what the hell am I supposed to do? What can I do? I could set her free. And a doctor, yes, find a good doctor. There's no getting her arm back, but he could at least patch her up. This is all my fault, so I'll do right by her. Look after her myself. Make sure she's taken care of for the rest of her life. Are you out of your mind, Jacopo? Why would she ever want to stay with you? Ah, damn it, I can't even stay focused. What is there to think about, boy? You already know what you must do. Get out of here, spirit. When you learn your damn lesson and just stay dead, damn it. The last thing I need is a pathetic ghost constantly sticking its nose in my business. Ha! Strong words from the man who can't even keep his head in the presence of said pathetic ghost. The answer is plain as day, boy. You proceed exactly as planned. Make witch blood into a miracle elixir and distribute it at the church. You'll take in tithes as well as winning the people favor for supporting the new, beloved church. It's a fine scheme. I'm impressed you came up with that, boy. Silence. That was before I knew she was the witch. What does it matter? The girl's going to be dead soon regardless. Progress and growth, it always comes at a price. You need simply accept that the price has already been paid. Tell me, is the girl worth throwing the entire venture aside, knowing you'll lose all goodwill you made to gain from it more? She's Morgana. She's a child could tell you which has more value. You bear the weight of this entire land, boy. Don't try to cast that aside because you killed one little girl. She isn't dead. She's still... Surely, you can't call that living. She's not. She is, and you killed her. I did not. There is no turning back. Why are you so upset about this, boy? Countless slaves have perished at your command. You had the slum rats who tried to bite you slaughtered. And only now are you concerned about another's life? Surely you're not still clinging to your naive sentimentality, are you? Oh, but she's different. Oh, I accidentally clicked. Oh, but she's different from those disposable sacks of flesh. She's dear to me. We have so many wonderful memories together. I love her. Enough! You've come too far to step down from the throne. No matter how much you may have cared for the girl before, it's out of the question now. You cannot have her. When a nobleman marries, it's for political purposes. Be it connection, resources, appearances, always something to gain. Taking a nameless peasant girl will make you a laughingstock of the land. So lock her up and drain her until there's nothing left. Shut your damn mouth, accursed spirit. You don't have any idea what you're talking about. You don't know the first thing about how I feel about her. The things we've shared. Wait a minute. What's going on? How the hell do you know any of that? Ha, took you long enough, boy. How did I not realize you were never that kind of man to speak of progress and growth? That I wasn't. What the hell? What are you? I've already told you. I am the curse known as the Lord of the Land. Or if you need me to put it in simple terms for your simple mind, I am your sickness. You're out of your mind. I'm not sick. I'm not the one who's out of his mind, boy. This is a world of madness and disease, but not of spirits. The throne drives all who sit upon it to madness, power or sanity. A man can only have one. And all the faster will his grasp on his mind slip when he has no one at his side to shield him from his enemies. I am not Jean-Francois Barnier, and there is no way for you to banish this spirit. Your mind is broken, on the verge of collapse, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. No, no, you're lying. My mind is not broken. I am perfectly sane. There's not a grain of madness in me. Tell me, Jacopo, is this the power you always sought? Is this what you spend day and night fighting to achieve? What? How are you? I thought you wanted power in order to protect those you cared most about. But here you are, using that power to destroy their lives. Or is that power the only thing you care about protecting anymore? Shut up. Is that what I took up the blade for all those years ago? Enough. You don't have any place criticizing me. You're just a stupid child with his head in the clouds. Who thinks he can become some kind of hero? If you hadn't been so foolish, I wouldn't be in this place at all. You're right. We chose the wrong path. And there's no way for us to get back on the right one any longer. This wasn't what I had wanted at all. The future I had dreamed of. The outcome I had hoped for. But who did I even have to explain that to? And who would even understand if I tried? There were walls as high as the eye could see on both sides of this path. Forward was the only way I could go. I had killed my old friends and comrades, lost everything along the way, but still I had marched on. Because that was all I could do. And now, power was the only thing that remained in my hands. So I would make a despot of myself, bury all my feelings for her, and continue my march straight into hell. I had no other choice. Every day felt like a slog through a swamp with no end in sight. Though I did everything to keep my appearances when I wasn't alone, I masked any trace of my discord beneath a veil of bottomless confidence. It had reached to a point where I nearly everything I said or did in public was an act. A farce, even. Among the mistakes the Far Eastern dog had made was involving a third party. He was a young man, and there was a considerable possibility he was nobility, which meant I couldn't simply dispose of the boy until I had more information. Between that and his decision to cut off Morgana's arm, I was looking like quite a fool for thinking I could tame a beast. Though of course my biggest mistake was coming up with a scheme in the first place. Soon after locking Morgana up in the tower, I summoned the boy, making it abundantly clear he was not to tell anyone what he knew. Then, sealing the deal by turning him into a co-conspirator. The boy was irritatingly timid, in part, I presumed, because the dog had already threatened him. All it took to keep him nice and obedient was a stern glare and a few choice words. I hired a dog to be my bodyguard and assigned the boy to an administrative supervising post on a new church ground. Having been originally built as second manor for the previous lord, the church was still more mansion than church, which meant there was an abundance of rooms for the boy to stay in. I then summoned the saintess there to serve as the face of the church. She was to remain on grounds all day, and at night she would stay in a cottage a safe distance from the church. I also informed her that I stored my money and valuables in the observation tower, and that she would be charged with treason if she trespassed. She was a naturally trusting woman, and she seemed grateful for everything I was doing for her, so I doubted she would spill anything. Though even if she did, 3 keys were required to enter the tower. 1 held by me, 1 by the dog, and 1 by the boy. It's so funny, even so casually just call him like that. This is hilarious. So all 3 of us were in this until the witch died. I had one of my aides dig around for information on the noble boy. Mel was his name, and he claimed he had been banished from his home, but I couldn't just take him at his word. I had to be absolutely sure so that when the witch died, I could eliminate him. The dog too, of course. No one who knew anything could be allowed to live. That said, he seemed like he would put up a better fight than the boy, so I would have to be a little more careful in choosing how to take him out. I wasn't too worried though. I was the Lord after all. So long as that much didn't change, I could do just about anything. Once we started distributing the miracle elixir, the church following grew far quicker than I'd expected. Numerous reports of people being cured of diseases spread through the city, and before long, even the healthy came seeking its powers. Every smiling face that walked out of the chapel was another black stain on my spirit. Her blood really was miraculous, and it was then that I understood why the last Barnier had held all those banquets. He wasn't just torturing a little girl, he was feasting on miracles. And now that word was spreading that I knew the rumors were true. I had lost my final escape route. The plan failing entirely because her blood was just ordinary blood. Forward was the only route that remained. One day, the Far Eastern dog said to me, "Everything is proceeding exactly as you said it would, Lord." I didn't believe in miracles, but seeing all this has tempted me to change my mind. You're right. One girl's life is indeed a worthy exchange. I wasn't sure how I responded, though by that point I largely just rattled off bitter snark and insult reflectively in response to anything. So presumably, I called a dog, perhaps giving a laugh. Yeah, that's probably what had transpired. Most nights, I could no longer sleep without the aid of alcohol. I was pretty sure none of it was poisoned, but I spent a lot of time throwing it back up regardless. Barnier's cackling echoed in my chambers. The world twisted and contorted. Quite frankly, I was considering taking my own life, but I wouldn't let myself run away from what I had done. What was I doing to her? I had said I would continue my march straight down to hell, and that was exactly what I planned to do. Again and again I repeated to myself, I feel nothing for her. I never loved her. She's just another faceless peasant. I have no memories of my past life. The days turned to months, and soon spring was upon us. They finally got shackles to put on me. Must have given them quite a scare when I tried to climb the wall. Isn't that funny? Look, I made a flower crown. Huh. Festival preparations seem to be going well. Hey, aren't you going to go? I'm not going anywhere. You're a strange one. It's much nicer out there than it is in here. If anyone is to leave, it will not be me. Say, I've been wondering, who are you anyway? I was created to carry your pain. That doesn't answer the question. I cannot give you any other one though. I carry your pain for you and offer you someone to talk to, so the last remaining flame of hope in your heart doesn't flicker out. How very honorable of you. You sound like a saint. I don't know how you could stand living like that. What's so funny? Nothing. Just, you don't remember anything, do you? I don't consider my work to be saintly, but if you perceive it that way, then that's thanks to you. Because that's who you were, Morgana. You're not making any sense. That's fine, my dear. Knowing what I carry in my spirit would only cause you pain. So I just beg you live on, to not give up hope. Where am I supposed to find hope, chained up in a tower? You've been with me long enough. You see me here. My body is on the verge of death, and a black cloud fills my spirit. I despise the men, every one of them who did this to me. I want to kill them myself, and I hate that I lack the power to do so. I want to place a curse on them all. Don't talk like that, Morgana. Please, keep your spirit pure. Don't talk about cursing people. There's still hope. Someone will come to save you. Maybe one of the three will have a change of heart, or maybe someone else will come through the door. Just have a little patience, alright? There's no point. Even if someone does come, I have nowhere to return to. I have nowhere. That's not true. Remember, all those years ago when the Lord had you chained up? Someone came and set you free then. And someone will. No one's coming. That was a miracle, a one-time miracle. The flaxen-haired boy, he lied to me. This world is nothing but betrayal. No one is going to set me free anymore. Oh man, it hurts. Even the second time it hurts. Actually, there is one possibility for my salvation. Perfect. Then we'll wait for them to come. Yes, let's wait for an angel to come. What? An angel to come and set me free. Morgana, deliver divine punishment unto the sinners who defile me. And that'll be all for today's video. And wow, we got so far into the story, we're actually almost at a point where I have no idea what's gonna happen, because the first game never really expanded about what happened after Morgana's death, and after she put the curse on all three of them, and they died immediately after she put the curse on them. And I really hope the story will expand more about that, because I'm super interested to see what happened with like their souls, or even if that did really happen, which I'm sure it did. Because, you know, the first story wouldn't really make sense otherwise. So, yeah, I really hope we'll get to see what's happened with that, and the story will expand on that front. But other than that, wow, seeing all of this for the second time even hurt my soul even deeper. It was insane. I knew exactly what was gonna happen. I knew what's going to be said, and still, it hurt so damn much. Man, it's crazy. But at least when I know there's a good ending, I'm kinda happy. So I really hope we'll get even on that, even the story will be expanded on that even, because I really want that happy ending. Because right now I'm just sad. And yeah, but I guess that just goes to show how good this game really is, right? And it makes you feel so many things at once. It's incredible. It's incredible. And I cannot wait for tomorrow to continue. But we have done a lot for today, so that will be all. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.